If you've ever been in one of those relationships that just leaves you feeling completely drained, confused, and just, well, exhausted all the time, you know how heavy that is. It's more than just being tired. It's a deep wear and tear on your spirit. So today, we're going to break down a clear path forward. 5 solid steps you can take to start getting your peace back and getting away from abuse. Let's get into it. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about that feeling of exhaustion and why it's so real. Then, we'll dive into the 5 steps. Seeing the patterns for what they are, learning how to disengage to survive, building the right kind of support team, accepting the reality of the situation, and finally, the best part, reclaiming yourself. This is all about bringing some clarity to the chaos. Before we even get to the action items, we have to start right here. This isn't really a step you do, it's more of a moment to just validate everything you've been feeling. That bone-deep exhaustion, it's not your fault. It's actually a feature of how this whole relationship is designed. Wow, this quote really just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? These kinds of relationships, they function on this unspoken, completely unfair deal. One person, you, carries the entire weight. All the understanding, all the compassion, all the bending over backwards. You give up your needs, your wants, your peace of mind, just to keep the boat from rocking. And meanwhile, the other person is perfectly content. It's a one-way street, and you're the only one paying the toll every single day. So what keeps this whole dynamic locked in place? Well, it's often something called a trauma bond, and it's a really powerful psychological hook. It happens when all the mistreatment gets sprinkled with these little moments of kindness, or maybe some remorse. That cycle, that up and down of good and bad, creates this incredibly strong, confusing emotional connection. It leaves you always hoping for that good person to come back, and that hope is exactly what keeps you stuck. Okay, so now let's get into our first actionable step. This is all about pulling back the curtain and starting to realize that what feels like total unpredictable chaos, well, it's often a repeating, predictable cycle. You know that feeling of constantly walking on eggshells? Never knowing what's going to set them off? It feels so random. But the thing is, these relationships often have seasons. They follow a script. And once you start to identify what those seasons are, you can actually begin to anticipate them. And that right there is the first step to taking your power back. So let's look at this timeline because it's so important. It all starts with season 1, delight and joy. That amazing, intoxicating phase where everything feels like a movie. But then it shifts to season 2, devaluation. This is where the criticism and invalidation creep in, and it just leaves you feeling awful and confused. Then comes a really crucial phase, season 3, seeing it. This is that light bulb moment where you finally realize what's actually going on. And that leads to the final season, can't unsee it. Once you're here, there's no going back. The pattern is just undeniable. And as painful as that is, it's also where you can finally find some peace. Okay, so you can see the pattern. Now what? What do you actually do? Well, that brings us to step 2, disengagement. Think of this as a critical survival strategy. It's about making a conscious choice to stop pouring your precious energy into a black hole. And this right here is a super important distinction. Disengagement is for you. It's a survival tool. It's you formally recognizing, hey, there is no point in arguing here and choosing to protect your own peace. What it is not is a manipulation. It's not some passive-aggressive move to try and get them to change or meet your needs. That's a critical difference. So what does this actually look like day to day? First, you stop taking the bait. You just refuse to get pulled into those messy, go-nowhere arguments. Second, you keep all your conversation topics completely neutral. We're talking about the weather or traffic, not your feelings. And third, you have to stop sharing personal news. Good news will just be minimized, and bad news, well, that can and probably will be used against you later. It's all about creating a protective bubble around yourself. Now, disengaging can feel really isolating, which is why step 3 is absolutely vital. You need to build a support system. But, and this is a big but, it has to be the right kind of support. Because trust me, not everyone in your life is going to be able to help you with this. We absolutely need connection to heal from this stuff. But some of your friends or family, even with the best intentions, can actually make things worse. They might not get the dynamics at play, and they could end up accidentally defending the abuser or making you feel like you're overreacting. And that just leaves you feeling even more alone and questioning your own sanity. Yeah, these are the folks you need to be really careful with. The enablers. They're the people who say things like, oh, they don't really mean it, or, my favorite, you're just being too sensitive. Look, they might just want to see the good in everyone and keep their happy Pollyanna worldview intact, but talking to them will only make you doubt yourself even more. All right, let's talk about what is often the hardest, most challenging mental shift of them all. Step 4 is about radical acceptance. This means letting go of the hope that they're ever going to change and finally seeing the relationship for exactly what it is. This is it. This is where you really start to get your power back. See, acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about gaining clarity. When you stop fighting reality, when you stop wishing things were different, you stop wasting all that energy. You finally see the situation clearly, and it's from that place of clarity that you can start making decisions that are actually good for you. So let's be crystal clear about what this means. Radical acceptance is looking at the situation without any filters or wishful thinking. What it is not, it's not forgiveness, it is absolutely not condoning their behavior, and it is not resigning yourself to being mistreated forever. It's just a tool for you to stop hoping for a different outcome so you can deal with the one that's right in front of you. And this is what that radical acceptance looks like in your daily life. It means you internalize a few really hard truths. Number 1, your needs are not going to be heard or valued. Number 2, the relationship is going to be chronically unfair. 3, they're going to expect you to be a mind reader and get mad when you're not. And the biggest one of all, they are not going to change. Once you operate from these expectations, you're no longer constantly surprised and devastated by their behavior. You're prepared. And that brings us to our final step, and honestly, the most hopeful one. After you've seen the patterns, you've started to disengage, you've found real support, and you've accepted reality, the focus can finally turn back to where it should have been all along, on you. It's time to reclaim yourself. I want you to really take a minute and think about this question. In order to just survive in this relationship, what parts of yourself did you have to, shut down? What hobbies, what friendships, what dreams, what simple, basic needs did you sacrifice just to keep the peace? This slide just nails it. You become a needless person. It's like you're slowly brainwashed into believing that having needs of your own is selfish, that taking up any space is wrong. It's a survival tactic, right? You basically erase your own identity to become whatever they need you to be. Healing is all about rediscovering who that person was. Now, if you're not in a position where you can just leave yet, you can start this process through something called stealth wellness. It's brilliant. You practice self-care, but privately. Don't announce you're starting a new health kick or reading a self-help book, because it will almost certainly be undermined or criticized. Keep your healing journey to yourself. It's like a quiet little rebellion just for you. It is so important to reframe this whole experience. You are not damaged. You have learned. If you're a little more cautious now, if you believe that people have to earn your trust, that isn't a flaw. That is hard-earned wisdom. You've taken what happened to you, and you're using it to navigate the world with a much, much stronger sense of your own worth. And I just want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. For so long, the relationship has probably felt like a performance, right? A constant search for their approval. Just imagine for 1 second that you let go of that. What if you decided that your own validation was enough? If you truly stopped needing their approval, what would you do next? What would suddenly become possible? The answer to that question, that's where your new life begins.